Welcome back to another edition of Force Friday, where we talk about Star Wars theories, characters, concepts, comparisons, analyzations, collectibles, and more. And today we're going to be talking about the Sideshow 1/6 line, a line that often goes underappreciated and unnoticed, but really had a kind of 3 3/4 mentality to a larger scale collectible. But in order to discuss this, we're going to have to go back in time a little, give a little context. Hot Toys has been producing Star Wars figures since 2011, covering characters from the original trilogy, prequels, and sequels, and a line that has been massively successful. With new additions to their licensee, such as the recent Clone Wars announcement, they're showing no signs of slowing down. However, the one caveat to Hot Toys' Star Wars line has been the depth to which it has plunged into the characters. Case in point, I've had this Chirrut sitting on my shelf now for over a year, with no sign of a base coming anytime soon. Since the original Kenner figures hit shelves in '78, the background characters that build the world of Star Wars have been as important as the major players. Minor niche characters from Star Wars have struck a chord with audiences in a way no other film franchise has, and most toy lines and collectibles represent and prove this. You need no look any further than my channel to see one fan's affinity and affection for the old two tubes. However, the better you get, the more expensive you get. And at $250 per figure, there just isn't enough mass appeal in producing secondary, less popular characters. For every one two tubes fan, there's 30 Luke fans. Even major characters such as Cyborg from the Justice League line have yet to be released by Hot Toys. That's the real bummer to the Hot Toys collector. You're gonna get your Vader, you're gonna get your Luke, and Lord knows if they can pump out a trooper, any toy company is going to. But you may never get the backup bounty hunters, you may never get your bays, and more importantly, you may never get your two tubes. That is not from Hot Toys. Sideshow Collectibles, on the other hand, are the only other company to hold an official 1/6 scale Star Wars action figure license. They are pretty much a powerhouse in the collecting world, producing tons of statues and being the official Hot Toys distributor for the US. These days, they produce sparse Star Wars figures, and those they do produce tend to be niche characters Hot Toys isn't going to make, like bounty hunters, or their own representations of iconic characters, but we'll get back to that in a bit. The stuff they do is nice, but to be frank, they are totally eclipsed by Hot Toys' shadow. But it wasn't always this way. Enter 2006. It was a different time, it was a different story. Bird flu was discovered in Scotland. Saddam Hussein was found and executed. Borat released in theaters, and Pluto was downgraded from a planet to a dwarf planet. And Hot Toys was in its infancy, going largely unheard of and producing mostly military figures. 1/6 did have its fans, but it was a small community, and most 12-inch figures with soft goods were through mass-market toy lines like Hasbro, who had sporadically been producing them since the 1995 Power of the Force line. It's not that they were bad, but they were Hasbro toys at a reasonable cost, in Toys R Us, and the quality, release to release, was hit or miss. In fact, to be fair, it may have mostly been comparable to a Stormtrooper's aim, with far more misses than hits. But let's enter Sideshow Collectibles. Founded in 1994 as Sideshow Toys, they began producing prototypes for larger companies like Hasbro and Mattel. They first began selling their own products in 1999 with the 8-inch Universal Monsters range, and soon branched into the 1/6 game. Here, the company really started becoming what we know today. Sideshow really brought a classiness to collecting. If you look at their website, they've decided to largely abandon traditional retail in favor of the direct-to-consumer model we know today. In a post-Toys R Us world, it becomes clearly obvious that they were way ahead of the curve and way ahead of their time. Their first Star Wars pieces hit in 2005 as part of their high-end quarter-scale premium format line and struck a chord with collectors. This line's success led to them acquiring the 1/6 scale license from Lucasfilm, and the first truly high-end 12-inch Star Wars figures hit in early 2006. The line launched with the Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi. He included most of the important accessories seen in the first half of the film and sold for $50, which was quite a controversial piece in 2006. Kind of seems laughable by today's standard. He was followed that same year by Anakin Skywalker, Kit Fisto, Darkside Anakin, Han Solo, Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Darth Maul. And already we can see the basic pattern of Sideshow's Star Wars line. Multiple figures per year from the primary characters to the obscure. There aren't that many lines that would pick Kit Fisto to be their third ever figure, but bravo to any company that would. They also all came in a limited production run. Sideshow said at the time this wasn't to make acquiring the figures difficult, but that they were simply conservative when it came to sales. They wanted the figures to hold their value for collectors. Jedi Knight Luke, for example, saw only 6,500 produced, a fair bit lower than others like Darth Maul, who saw 9,000. This was one of the first big Star Wars lines where that online pre-order became very important. Over the next 2 years, Sideshow continued to expand on the prequel and original trilogy eras. We got all the usual suspects with another Luke, Han, and Leia hitting between 2007 and 2008. 2008. As they continued to double down on their commitment to less-known characters with Rebel Fleet Troopers, Jedi Council members, etc., the little walking chair that Newt Gunray talks to Darth Sidious through, 2007 also saw them introduce their first expansion packs with the Sith probe droids and Salacious Crumb Creature Pack, a creature feature, and allow collectors to really populate their displays. Darth Maul looked a little cooler with some probes floating behind him, and Han Solo looked great perched over the Dejeric Holochess pack. They even began producing small environments in 2010 with the Mos Eisley Cantina set, which consisted of the table and chairs where Han and Greedo had a shootout, or at least have a shootout now. Back in my day, ladies and gents, it was just an execution. But that's neither here nor there. This was soon followed by various cantina walls and corners and even Yoda's hut. As the line continued, its popularity with Star Wars fans only grew. Peppering less famous characters alongside the usual suspects was something many fans appreciated and an excellent tactic to ensure the line's health. They continued to draw from all aspects of Star Wars, pumping out all the major original trilogy characters in most of their outfits, the majority of main prequel characters, and even the new entertainment such as the Filoni Clone Wars TV series. Their Anakin Skywalker with Rhoda the Hutt was one of their first realistic interpretations of a look from that show, which most companies have only gone to adopt as their approach. They drew from the expanded universe with characters like Grand Admiral Thrawn and the Black Hole Stormtrooper. They really left no stone unturned. Looking back on some of their early stuff today, it's easy to dismiss them. Take their Anakin Skywalker, their second ever figure. It pales in comparison to the Hot Toys in virtually every way. But at the same time, this was premium cutting edge stuff, and to be fair, Sideshow didn't sit on their toes. By even 2008, the cut and sew of outfits on figures such as the Jedi General Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars show had significantly improved, and they continued to refine their designs as the line went on. By 2011, they had reached a place where many of their figures, while not at all to the same standard, can work on a shelf next to modern-day Hot Toys and hold their own. Their clone troopers are particularly popular for that. Take their Phase 2 Captain Rex. It doesn't look or feel as good as the Hot Toys, but it's still good and definitely a premium collectible. Commander Wolf and ARC Troopers, Echo and Fives go for astronomical prices on the aftermarket, and unless Hot Toys ever produces them, that's unlikely to change. Speaking of Hot Toys, their rise had a profound effect on the popularity of the Star Wars line. Hot Toys has slowly begun acquiring movie licenses through the 2000s and had begun to build up a wider fan base. Their first Star Wars figure, Bespin Luke, dropped in 2011 as a one-off and was a significant jump in quality compared to Sideshow. But Hot Toys really exploded with their 2012 Avengers and Dark Knight Rises lines. These figures were the best Hot Toys had done up to that point, and the demand for merchandise meant that their incredibly realistic head sculpts received widespread attention like never before. By 2012, Sideshow was well into its Star Wars line, having produced over 85 standard figures, and the well was beginning to dry up. They continued producing figures, but numbers slowly but surely reduced. They found a niche market with their extensive line of Clone Wars clone troopers, but that series and the prequel era as a whole didn't have the appeal even with the Star Wars fandom as it does today. In terms of Sideshow as a company, they were doing just fine. Their statues from various brands was a sign of their popularity, and their deal to become Hot Toys' official Western distributor meant that a once threat had been made a partner. From rivals to idols, 1/6 was never Sideshow's bread and butter. Statues were, and Sideshow knew it. In 2014, Hot Toys announced that they had acquired a full Star Wars license, and soon after a statement on the Sideshow website stated the two would be creating pieces to complement one another. The wording is interesting and confirms suspicions collectors have had for a long time. Sideshow knew they just couldn't compete with Hot Toys in the 1/6 game. Since 2014, Sideshow had continued to produce their Star Wars figures, but at a far slower rate. Aside from the occasional Luke or Vader, they tend to focus on the characters Hot Toys is never going to do. Like bounty hunters from The Empire Strikes Back, or Lando in his skiff guard disguise, they have found a niche within a niche. Or maybe a niche within a niche. Or perhaps a niche within a niche. Or a niche within a niche? That's a niche. But that niche is their Mythos line. Originally dynamic statues showing alternate off-screen designs of characters, they have brought these designs to the 1/6 market with characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Boba Fett. But ultimately, the line is pretty much on life support, with releases few and far between and basically all the big announcements coming from Hot Toys. I would fare to venture that this is mainly because the Mythos statues have become so overwhelmingly popular. However, in the same breath, the Obi-Wan Mythos action figure did do very well and can fetch a pretty penny here and there. I think it has to do with the approach, and I think it has to do with the statement the figure makes. That Mythos Obi-Wan is different, for instance, than the Gamorrean Guard, which may have less of an appeal. But I think there is hope and promise in this line, and I'm a big fan of it from both perspectives, 1/6 and 1/5 their Mythos statue line. But ultimately, Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars line is one that has largely faded from the collecting consciousness in the last few years, but its significance cannot go understated or underappreciated. Without it, we might never have seen the breakout 1/6 six market we have today. And we're unlikely to see such an expansive line in this scale ever again. Don't hold your breath for a Hot Toys Hammerhead, dude. Probably not gonna happen. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying sane. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.